Hello, and thank you for joining me again on this sunny but brisk day in October in the MARC garden. This month I will be telling a story about rabbits, and it's an icy cold story too, illustrated by the talented Sarah. Back in the days where man now walked the earth but not all the animals had their final shape, I wish to tell you a story. In the forest there were many creatures with beautiful resplendent feathers and fur and fancy tails. Fox, of course, had the second most beautiful tail of them all. Fox's tail was resplendent, black and red fur interlaced between them, ending in a spark like an ember set alight. And Fox was so proud of this tail. It stood up almost half the length of his body, and he waved it proudly this way and that through the forest. But who had the most beautiful tail? Well, Rabbit, of course. Rabbit's tail was just that little extra inch taller than Fox's, just that little extra floofier. And it had the most gorgeous colours, sure. It was mostly grey and white, but it was soft like a fluffy cloud or dark like a thundercloud. This Rabbit would spend about an hour a day, every day, combing his tail. And this tail was long enough and Rabbit's body so short that he could wrap it all the way around himself and comb through it with his paws like this, making sure to fluff it to just the right amount. And then, of course, it was the most comfortable pillow for Rabbit to lay his head upon and sleep. And in the morning, in case any dirt or leaves had gotten into Rabbit's tail, he hopped ever so carefully through the brush, just to make sure the tail swinging proudly behind him didn't catch on anything. If it had gotten dirty, well, he'd have to spend every morning combing the tail and every night before he went to sleep. And it showed, for Rabbit's tail gleamed and shone. All of this, of course, is completely beside the point, because it was winter. It's cold. The ice has frozen over the ground and sharpened everyone's wits and their stomachs because they're so empty. And Fox is walking through the forest one day when, the smell of smoked fish, the smell of hot flesh sizzling over a fire, cracking with fat and heat. Fox's senses were all alight, and quickly he stole through the undergrowth and found man, sitting by a fire, slowly turning a spit upon which lay a fat, roasting fish, a halibut, perhaps. And to the side, off on a piece of cloth, were 4 more fish, already smoked and cooked. And Fox's lips started salivating, his jaw dropped open slightly, his tongue lolling out. He could almost taste those fish. But of course they weren't his, and he had no way of getting them. But he couldn't leave them. And maybe an opportunity would present itself, and so Fox hunkered down in the bushes and waited. And man was yawning as he turned the spit, because he'd been up before dawn, going out and fishing hard, working hard for this food that now lay before him. And of course, first he'd had to skin them and descale them and pluck the bones and roast, and it was a whole process, and he was exhausted. And so, as he turned the spit, he thought, when this one's done, I'll just wrap up all of these fish for a moment. I'll just have a little nap here. Just here in the woods, right by the edge of the bank of the lake. And then I will, with my wrapped up prize, when I wake up, maybe only half an hour, just a little shut-eye, head home. And won't my family be so happy with this fish? And that is exactly what man did. Right before Fox's eyes, he took that last fish off the spit, wrapped it up, and then promptly fell asleep. Fox could hardly believe his luck, and so he stole forwards and unfolded the blanket. 5 fish, 5, 1 person. It's greedy, really, isn't it? Especially when Fox's stomach was already sort of turning in on itself, eating itself with hunger. Half a fish. Man won't miss half a fish, right? And so Fox stole forward, licked his lips and quickly tore half the fish off, pushed it on paws up into his snout, tried and Oh, it tasted good. And he blinked, and suddenly the entire fish was gone, not just half. And oh, it hadn't filled that hole in his stomach. In fact, it made him more aware of how large that hole in his stomach was. It had barely filled the top. 4 fish. Maybe we split it in half, yeah? Maybe just 1 or 2 more. No, yeah, man won't mind. There's one of him, there's one of me. We'll split the amount of fish in half. And quickly, Fox swiped 2 more fish and ate a second one. And now his stomach was beginning to get full. And he looked at those other fish and thought, there's tomorrow. There's dinner tonight, there's breakfast tomorrow, there's another lunch. Who knows when I'll find such a thing as that? And now, barely even trying to rationalise it in his mind, Fox took those last 3 fish, all tied up on a piece of string, slung them over his shoulder, and headed for home. His tail swinging jauntily up behind him. So happy was he, so full was his stomach, he almost whistled a little tune as he headed down the path and nearly walked into Rabbit. There was Rabbit coming up the path towards him. And there was his tail, large and beautiful, and at that, Fox's blood simmered just a little bit. And of course he thought, here's Rabbit walking this way. If he sees these fish and then I don't tell him where I got, and he walks further and there's man waking up going, where are my fish? Rabbit will rat me out in an instant. Rabbit will tell man, I just saw Fox with a couple of fish and I'll be done for. I've got to come up with a plan. And as Rabbit walked towards Fox, his face broke out into a wide smile because Fox was his friend. They were the 2 best tails in the forest, weren't they? He admired Fox and he smiled as he saw those fish on his shoulder. My Fox, in such a brutal winter as this, where have you managed to find such beautiful fish? Oh, I could fair go for some fish right now. Oh, my stomach is rumbling. Because everyone knows that rabbits love to eat fish. And Fox, he smiled at Rabbit. He said, What do you mean, where did I get them? I got them at the lake, of course. Fishing is so easy when you have a tail such as mine. And obviously, a tail such as yours, Rabbit. Do you mean you've never been ice fishing before? Ice fishing? I've never heard about ice fishing, Fox. What do you mean? And Fox, he smiled and his teeth glinted in that sunlight as he said, Rabbit, I just go down to the lake, I scratch a hole in the ice with my claw, I kick it through, and then I just drop my tail into the water. I flick it idly, slowly, side to side, and then let it still. And all of the fish come to investigate. They love luxuriant bushy tails like this. They swim up close, and then they bite. And it barely hurts, don't worry. Fish, very small, tiny teeth. But I feel that little nibble and I just, and I can flick the fish right out of the water. They land on the ice next to me. I hit them over the head with my paw and there I've got a fish. Why, getting these fish, it took me barely half an hour. Just floop, floop. Really? Oh, wow, I had no idea. Fox, thank you so much. You're such a good friend. I can't wait to try this and take home some fish for myself. And at this, Rabbit smiled widely, bounded off down towards the lake edge, and Fox just grinned to himself, slung those fish back over his shoulder and whistling set off for home, knowing he was in the clear. Rabbit went down to the lake edge, gently tested the ice, for it had frozen over entirely, and then stepped a few feet out onto the lake. Scratched slowly, his claws were a little blunt, scratched slowly a circle in the ice and then kicked it in with his powerful hind legs. He listened for a moment, long ears twitching to hear if there was any ice splintering away from that crack, putting him in danger, but there was nothing. And how Rabbit had got those strong hind legs and those long ears is a story for another time. But at this moment, Rabbit sat on the edge of the bank and flopped in his gorgeous tail. Oh, the water was cold. Oh, the water was so cold. And he could feel it like 100,000 tiny little teeth biting into his tail. But Rabbit took a deep breath, stilled his breathing. If Fox could do this, so could he. And he gave his tail a little experimental flick, just once or twice, and then let it still. Clenched his paws on the bank. Oh, it was so cold, but, was that a nibble? That might be a nibble. I don't want to pull my tail out too early and scare away all of the fishes. No, I'll leave it a moment. I think that was still just the cold biting. I'll wait for a real fish bite. Rabbit waited and waited. And then he definitely felt it. Then he felt this bite sinking in all around his tail, and so, phew, he went to flick his tail out of the ice and, oh! Rabbit leapt clear of the ice and his tail burned, and he looked behind him to see, and he couldn't see it. He couldn't see his gorgeous, beautiful tail. He was trying to twitch it. He could feel the muscles twitching, but nothing to be seen over his shoulder. And he turned. And back there, that hole that he had dug in the ice and kicked clean through, well, it had refrozen over. And there in the middle of that ice patch lay the bloody stump of Rabbit's tail, pulled clean off when he leapt for shore, trying to flick out just one little fish. And Rabbit knew he'd been tricked, and Rabbit's tail burned with pain and his head burned in shame. And slowly, he loped off back to the bank. And what happened next? Well, again, that is a story for another time. But from that day to this, whenever you look at a rabbit, you will see instead of that gorgeous, luxuriant tail, he has only a little fluffy bob. And Fox, well, Fox now has the most luxuriant tail in all of the forest. And believe me, he lets everyone know about it. Thank you. Please join us again in November when Colin will be telling another story from the even colder MARC garden.